All right. Talk to you today about quite possibly my favorite science fiction film. Nah, it's not quite possibly. It is my favorite science fiction film of all time. For some people, it's 2001: A Space Odyssey. For other people, it's I don't know what. But for me, it's Blade Runner. There's 7 cuts of this film, and I've only ever seen 3. I've seen the director's cut, the theatrical cut, and the final cut. I had a copy of the director's cut, which isn't much different from this, other than this has been cleaned up and there's been some, the print's really been cleaned up a lot. So visually, this is the best looking version of the film is the final cut. And I think this is available in 4K now. I haven't seen the 4K. I own it on Blu-ray. But this film came out in 1982. It was kind of a box office bomb. Roger Ebert originally didn't like it. I don't think Gene Siskel liked it either. Roger Ebert came back years later when the final cut was released, and he kind of come around to it and basically praised the film because of its influence on the film industry. I mean, this was a groundbreaking film as far as Ridley Scott's concerned. It kind of set the mold for the whole, science fiction genre when you're looking at visual design. And I think we're kind of stuck there. I think people are kind of stuck in the Ridley Scott aesthetic. I mean, between Alien and the visual aesthetic of that film and Blade Runner, is there anybody else that's had more impact on the science fiction look and aesthetic? When you're thinking about the Neil Blomkamp movie Elysium, all that stuff owes influence to Ridley Scott. You think about 12 Monkeys with Bruce Willis, or Dark City, or even a lot of Japanese anime. Think about things like Akira. It's totally Blade Runner inspired. So I don't think it can be denied. The score from Vangelis, who also did Chariots of Fire, he did the score for this. I know that little interlude I put in there was really cringe. Peak cringe, bro! But, whatever. I'm not going to deny that I love this movie. I think a lot of people today, especially from the younger generation, and when I mean young, I mean people that were born after I graduated from high school. I'm still shocked. I'm not going to give you my exact age or the exact date of my birth, but I was born in the 70s, and I graduated from school in the 90s, okay? But these kids today that grew up watching, their first cinematic experience was going to the movie theater and watching Harry Potter, and that was the highlight of their childhood. Kids that went to the movie theater when they were little kids, they're watching the Star Wars prequels. Look, I saw Return of the Jedi at the movie theater as a child, okay? I remember my parents taking me to watch Return of the Jedi. So that ought to give you a time frame of what we're talking about. I was born in an analog world and everything became digital. So the kids today, when they watch this movie, and my kids, you know what I'm talking about, kids that were born in a digital world, that don't remember what life was like before the internet existed, that don't remember what it was like to have your phone on a super long cord, before we had cell phones, before we had DVDs even. These kids don't even remember VCRs. They'll never know the joy of going to a Blockbuster video, to a video store, and picking out a movie to watch over the weekend on a video cassette, or what it was like to switch from Atari to Nintendo when Nintendo came out. I'm really dating myself, man. But this movie was awesome, man. This was one of the ones that I just grew up on. Like, I don't remember the first time I saw it, but when I saw it, it blew my mind. I was way too young to be watching it. I think I saw the theatrical cut originally on WGN Chicago during like a probably the same way I watched, Dune, was during like a Cubs rain delay, back when Harry Carey, holy cow, he hit that one out of the ballpark. Go to a rain delay, and then they play Blade Runner, and I'm watching it, and then like I only saw like half the movie, and I went to my friend Nicole Thatcher's house when we were little kids. She had a Nintendo, so I'd go over there, and I've said this before, Jimmy would play things that were totally inappropriate. Jimmy had this on VHS, and he put the VHS tape in, and my little child mind was just blown. Atomic explosions in my brain. I had no idea what I was watching, but I could not turn away from it. It's mesmerizing. So I love this movie. I watch it at least once a year. I watched it in November of 2019. That's when the movie is set. It was a very bizarre and surreal experience. Like, yep, I finally caught up with the future. And now, as I'm recording this in 2024, the future's past. And that was bizarre. It was bizarre. Like, that the past caught up with the future. Because I saw this way back, probably like in 84 or 85 for the first time. It was one of those cult movies, that it's a cult movie, had a cult following, that people passed this VHS tape around, like, you gotta watch this, man, check this movie out. That's what this was. And if it wasn't for this film, the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, upon which it's based, probably would never have, Philip K. Dick probably would have fallen into obscurity and nobody would be talking about him today. I'm not going to talk about the book right now. I'll talk about that in my next review. And I know this wasn't really much of a movie review at all. It's just me reminiscing about it, talking about it. And honestly, the movie probably has about as much in common with the source material as the Boris Karloff 1930s version of Frankenstein has in common with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Like, they don't bear any resemblance to each other at all. They're totally their own thing. So if you've never seen Blade Runner and you've never read the book, you can watch the film and it's not going to spoil the book for you in any way, shape, or form. Not in the slightest. They're totally different things unto themselves. In fact, I appreciate the fact that the movie's called Blade Runner and not Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, because they're not the same. They're not the same at all. And I'll talk more about the differences between the film and the book as I get into the book review. So this is probably going to be part of a 3-part series. This is just kind of the introduction. This was my introduction to Philip K. Dick. This is the first thing I ever saw or read or anything. This is my first exposure to PKD, was this movie. And of course, he'd have other things adapted later, like Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall, which was from We Can Get It For You Wholesale, or the Tom Cruise movie Minority Report, or A Scanner Darkly, which are all adaptations of Philip K. Dick material. But this was the first thing, and this is what got me into reading PKD. So, I love this film. My favorite science fiction film of all time. Despite all of its flaws, despite all of its defects, and I know it has many, but there's nothing like it. And I love it. And it's great. And when I get into talking about the book, we'll talk more about comparisons to the film. So thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.